Welcome to For the Health of It. This is your host, K-Pad, and today I have with me a very special guest, a former student of mine, Kennedy Daniels. Kennedy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, my name is Kennedy Daniels. I am 21 years old. I am a current junior at Louisiana State University. My major is kinesiology with a concentration of pre-med. I danced and cheered in high school, and I currently am a dancer for the New Orleans Pelicans, and this will be my second season with the team.
All right, awesome. So here at For the Health of It, we want to recognize all athletes, no matter how small or different the sport may be. And being that Kennedy is a dancer slash cheerleader, or dancer now, former cheerleader, we want to recognize them as athletes. So I really appreciate this opportunity of Kennedy getting on with us. So Kennedy, let's dive a little bit into your background and tell us, how long have you been dancing?
I have been dancing. Well, I started off young, just kind of playing around. I really didn't take it seriously, but I started seriously dancing around the age of 12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do competition, so I started looking more into videos, and I saw different competition teams, and I saw what I wanted to start doing. So I started working harder and pursuing into that. High school, I started off my freshman year on the dance team.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted a change of scenery, I guess you can say, because I already did dance outside of school, so I wanted to change it up and I guess be more versatile.
Right.
Saying I can do both.
Okay.
So then I finished out my high school years doing that. And after that, I went to college, and I didn't try out my freshman year for Pelicans, but I did my sophomore and junior year.
Okay.
And I'm about to be a senior now, which is very crazy to me.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Time has flown. You graduated 2017, correct?
That is correct.
All right, man. That's I don't know if you knew this, but that was 10 years after I graduated. Y'all like little brothers and little sisters to me.
I know, it's crazy.
So, you said you cheered in high school and you also danced in high school outside of the school itself. What's the major difference between? Well, you went to Biloxi High, so what's the major difference between the dance team at Biloxi High and the cheer team at Biloxi High? Then also, if you could please go into the in depth of the difference between cheer and dance overall.
For high school, I guess the dynamic was just different for me.
Mm-hmm.
I always danced outside of school, and I guess I expected it to be similar to what I did outside.
Okay.
But when I finally got into it, I realized it wasn't the same thing. We competed, but I guess it just wasn't on the same level. I think we maybe did one competition, but besides that, it was just football games, and then we did some basketball, but it wasn't really the full experience. That's what I thought it was going to be. So that's why I switched over to cheer, because I started tumbling, and I figured that was something that I enjoyed doing. So I focused more on that, and cheer is honestly a lot different from dance overall.
Mm-hmm.
Just two different spectrums. Yes, they're both very competitive, but cheer is competitive in its own way. Now, when I was on the team, we weren't actually in the competition part of it as much. We did it one time, and then it didn't start getting big until after I left.
Okay.
The amount of time and practices that they put into cheerleading versus dance team, I feel like it's completely different. I feel like they do have a harder amount of work that they have to put in order to be on the cheer team for high schools.
Okay. All right. So you said you went to you're at LSU currently. Why did you choose LSU versus in-school state or in-state school?
I honestly, I went in afterward, I actually did the most program at Ole Miss, and it was fun. It's just like I couldn't see myself going there, if that makes sense. It didn't feel right for me.
Okay.
As far as when I went to LSU, I knew that was somewhere that I wanted to spend my 4 years.
Okay.
Like, just something about the dynamics that they had there, the people that greeted me when I went there, it was just different. And I wanted something different. I wanted to be outside of the state. Like, I wanted to meet new people. Like, that was my goal. I didn't want to go to something where I thought it felt familiar.
Gotcha.
I kind of wanted to step outside of the box.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. So, why did you not try out for cheer or dance when you got to LSU?
Funny job, because I actually did try out.
Okay.
I tried out right out of high school. So when I was a senior in high school, I tried out to be on the team my freshman year.
Gotcha. But
that was the same year that I had a knee injury. I had dislocated my knee twice my senior year.
Okay.
But it was still something that I wanted to do, so I wanted to go ahead and give it a try. Just to see, like, what happened. And I made it all the way to finals, and then, like, I got cut, like, right before they made the team. And then the coach was like, like, we really like you. I feel like you just should give it a year, come practice with more, and I feel like things will be just better the next year. So I took her advice. My freshman year, like, I had my classes, but I always went to, like, different dance training classes outside of school. Like, after I left class, like, I would go to the studio, I'd be training. I tumble privates, I did it all. I didn't have privates with the coach, but at the end of the day, I always told about the thing that, like, what's meant for you will be for you.
Right.
So then after when I tried out the second year, the same thing happened, and I honestly feel like I was more prepared my second year than I was my first. Like, the first year, like, I had doubts.
Right.
Like, the entire time. Like, I didn't know, like, what I did was right or wrong.
Okay.
But, like, going in, I felt so confident about everything and, like, what I put out for my audition. I thought that there was no way, like, I couldn't have made it.
Right.
But then the same thing happened once again. But then this time there really wasn't an explanation. Like, I didn't talk to the coach. Well, she never reached out to me about the auditions. Like, I reached out to her a few times, but, like, it was really nothing to be said.
Gotcha.
So, like, I wasn't really as discouraged the second time because I felt good about what I gave out. So I was like, if something's going to be for me, it's going to be for me. Like, you just kind of have to brush it off and keep going.
Right. Now,
like,
was this for the dance team or the cheer squad? This was for dance,
This was for the dance team.
Gotcha.
Because I've been watching the dance team, like, online for, like, a year and a half before I went to LSU, and, like, they're amazing. Like, that's something that I wanted to be a part of.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like that will complete the overall experience of going to LSU.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
But probably, I want to say, like, 2 weeks after I auditioned, my friend, she called me and she was like, hey, like, do you know anything about the Pelicans audition? And I was like, I mean, you mentioned it before, but, like, no, I really hadn't looked into it. Because, like, right before I tried out for the Tiger Girls for LSU, she texted me, she was like, I love you, and, like, I want you to make the team. She was like, but if there's some reason that you don't, I want you to try out for Pels with me.
Right.
So then she brought it up again, and I was like, you know what, why not? So then we went to the clinics, and then we talked to the coaches and some former teammates, like some of the teammates that were already on the team. And then a few of them reached out to me. They were like, we really enjoy watching you. Like, we think you'd be a good fit for this team. But then again, it's just like, I'm trying out for an NBA team. Like, who makes it the first try? Like, that was what I was thinking in my head.
Okay.
And it was kind of unreal at the point. But then afterwards, like, we went through the process, and then it took them, like, I want to say it took like a month for them to get back to us about the team. So, like, that was nerve-wracking in itself. And I was like, wow. I mean, there's so much talent there.
Okay.
Like, I know they said they liked me, but you never
really
sure at the end of the day.
Right.
Like, you don't want to take somebody's word and, like, not go through, you know?
Exactly. So you mentioned going through the process. Can you elaborate a little bit on what the process is?
Yeah, so it kind of all happens. It's a little less than a week that the tryout process happens. So you go through registration, and then the first day you go in. I want to say there's maybe like 110 girls there total, and then there were some guys there as well. And you all learn the choreography. Well, they teach you the choreography at the clinic before, like just so if you want to start, you can go ahead and work on it.
Right.
But once you get on actual audition day, they'll teach it to you again, and then you go in groups. They had like maybe 10 groups that they went through, and like everybody did the dance. Okay. And then you waited for the judges' votes. So like, I feel like you had 3 cuts that day. So the first round was jazz, and if you made it through jazz, you have to go through your hip hop round. But aside from hip hop, you have to do the first dance that you learned from earlier in the day, along with the dance that you had just learned, just so like they know that you can keep up with choreography.
Gotcha.
And that's usually the round that they said that usually gets a lot of people because they're used to getting choreography in small amounts, or like having more time to learn. Okay. Which was like a shock for a lot of people, and that's what like got a lot of people cut at the end of the day. Okay.
Do you feel like go ahead?
No, you can.
All right. Do you feel like your background of dancing since the age of 12 helped with being able to be fed all those different choreography, different dance moves?
I absolutely did. The studio that I came from, I danced at Donna's Visual and Performing Arts in Ocean Springs.
Okay. Say that one more time.
Donna's Visual and Performing Arts is in Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Okay.
We had class every day. Gotcha. So every day we were learning something new. So I feel like if you had that type of environment, it was a little bit easier for you to be able to pick up choreography. And then like outside of that, like competition, we had conventions that we'd always used to go to where we learned dances from different choreographers all the time. So like you're always having choreography thrown at you, and you have to learn it in that time period. So I definitely do feel like that gave me an advantage when it came to the audition process.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. I want to skip back a little bit. You talked about your senior year. You had 2 knee injuries. Can you go a little more in depth on what happened with those knee injuries? If it was a one-time thing that I guess you know they say it's the onset is either chronic or acute. So can you go a little bit in depth about your knee injury?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had 2 surgeries in high school. The first one was on my shoulder, which happened my sophomore year, I want to say. I was tumbling and I swung my arm out of place, which is kind of weird because I was always double jointed, you can say. So like things like that would happen. Like it would pop out of place, but like it would always go back in. So like I would always bank on it, like, oh, it's nothing. Like it goes back in, like it's normal.
Right. So this the shoulder joint.
Yes.
Okay.
But then like there's that one time I was at practice and I swung it, and then my coach was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, like it's fine. Like just give it a second." And like I was just chasing around the room, and my mom was looking at me. She was like, "You're not okay," and I was like, "I'm not." And we had to go to the hospital, and like it was a mess. Like I was crying, and like everybody, I don't know. It was just like I felt like my injury that day was the center of attention because like when the doctor came in to relocate my shoulder, like all the nurses came in because like they had never seen anything like happen like that before, so they all wanted to see like the process of me getting my shoulder popped back into place.
Right.
So that happened, and then I was out for a little bit, but I still cheered and everything. I don't know if you saw, but I had like my little sling on, and then like I had all my uniforms Velcro because I really couldn't like put my uniforms on, so I had to like snap them together all the time.
Gotcha.
And that was a wild year. But then after that, I always had like loose knees as well, but it was just like nothing that I thought would be serious at the end of the day. Like it would always slip, but like it kind of go back in. So my senior year, we put on Christmas shows every year, and like I had the lead role, and I was doing my last performance. It was like my solo right before like the finale.
Right.
And I remember falling down to the ground. I was getting ready to do a move, and all of a sudden my knee popped out. But it's just like you really can't stop because like the show's going on, like everybody's about to start running on stage. So I took it upon myself to pop my knee back in place and finish up the rest of the dance.
Wow.
Which I like 30 minutes of. And then like somebody backstage was like, Kennedy, like you look upset. And I was like, my knee just popped out of place. And everybody thought I was joking. They're like, oh, you're just kidding. Like just go back out there. Like you're good.
Right.
Like, okay. So I went out there and then like at the end, I told my dance teacher, I was like, no, like I'm really hurt. So then they took me to the emergency room. And then they were like, well, since your knee has been shifting like this, like you really don't have a choice but to have surgery at this point.
Okay.
Which I thought after my surgery I'd only be out for like maybe a month. But it was a lot more invasive than they expected. Like I couldn't do pretty much anything on my own. Like after surgery, like walking was hard, sitting and getting up was hard. And it's like really discouraging for like a while because I've seen like people, like my best friend Gabby, she had her meniscus surgery from basketball and she was back within like a month. Like she was walking right after her surgery.
Right.
But it was kind of like discouraging to me because like I wasn't able to do that. Like it took me maybe like 3 months to like fully recover and like start walking on my own again.
Okay. I remember when Gabby hurt her meniscus. So was it also your meniscus, or was there other structures involved?
It was my meniscus, and then they said that they had to fully replace like my ligaments as well. So like I had a cadaver ligament put into my leg. So they said since it was from like another person's body, it was going to take longer for it to heal within my own.
Okay. Do you remember who did the surgery? Or what facility or company?
His name's Dr. Trickley. I think he owns his own private business.
Okay.
I think it's the same person that did Gabby's surgery as well.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about that rehab process, Kennedy. You said it took you about 3 months. Can you go a little bit in depth about the rehab?
Yeah, I had surgery a few weeks after graduation. It was right after my dance recital, which was in May.
Okay.
It was like a weekend after May.
So hold up, you got hurt in December, and you didn't have surgery until May.
Correct.
Yeah, I can see why it took you 3 months.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. But let's keep going. Keep going about the rehab.
Well, it's just like I didn't want to stop cheering. I didn't want to stop dancing. I was like, it's my senior year. Like, I don't want to miss out on any of this. And he was like, okay, well, like, as soon as it's done, like, you have to get it. Like, you have to get the surgery out the way.
Okay.
I was like, okay, so let me just get through my senior year first, and then we can do whatever we need to do.
Okay.
But for rehab, I had my surgery in May. I want to say started walking literally right before I went to college, and that was like mid-August.
Ooh, wait.
Yeah, it was a rough time. So I think I was like bedridden for a few weeks. Like I really couldn't do anything. And then he moved me to crutches, probably like 4 weeks out, and then like. Well, really, what happened, like, I was supposed to be on crutches, but the amount of pain that I was in, like, I still had to be in a wheelchair for, like, a while.
Wow.
Because, like, he told me, like, it was going to be a little bit worse since I did wait so long, but, like, I wasn't expecting it to be like that or, like, make my process longer for me to recover.
Okay.
So he was like, yeah, like, I know, like, it's hurting, but, like, you kind of have to push through and, like, start working your knee out more. So after I started on crutches for a little bit, I started going to rehab, hated doing that. And it's like, you have to go every single day. It's just, like, it's stuff that you have to do, like, you know you have to do, but it's just, like, you don't want to do at the end of the day.
Right.
So I was going to rehab like 3 or 4 times a week. They gave me exercises to do outside. And it's just like, I was doing all these things, but I still felt like I wasn't getting any better for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like at one point, I didn't think I'd be able to actually go to school, like in the start of for the fall semester, just because like I was so far behind where I was supposed to be.
Gotcha.
So like rehabilitation.
Right.
So like we were all worried about that for a little bit.
So let me ask you, during the rehab process, I know most at this point you were done with your senior year, so you're done cheering. Were you planning on? Had you already tried out for the LSU dance team at this point?
Yes.
So you tried out for them. So hold on, let me get this timeline correct. You got injured. You got injured December 2016.
Mhm.
In between December 2016 and May 17, you tried out for LSU?
I sure did.
Okay, gotcha. Now it's all making sense. Okay.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. The rehab process y'all were going through, I know with some rehabs, they treat athletes a little bit differently than they do the general population. Would you say that they were training you more as an athlete or more general population style?
I think I was an athlete and half because I knew the trainers that were in there.
Got you.
Me, and they knew everything that I was trying to do, so they were pushing me a lot harder than they would other clients.
Got you. And was this wasn't with who was the rehab with?
Touchdown.
Was that?
Jamie.
Okay, Gainey. Got you. Okay, so you're going through your rehab process and you're getting ready for school. Keep going with that.
So I was in rehab up until I got ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to check in with my doctor like one more time. It was like, in order to be able to walk around that campus, like you're gonna have to double up on your rehab, going into the clinic and like getting your exercises in.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well I don't want to miss out on my freshman year, so I did that and I started walking. Thankfully, I mean for orientation, which was in July, I still had to be in a wheelchair because there's no way like at that point I was gonna be able to tour that entire campus like on foot.
Right.
So they had like services come, they had a wheelchair for me, they had like a little bus to take me around everywhere, which I felt bad about because like I wanted to be like with the group and everybody, and I just felt like I was being a burden to everybody, but they were really nice about it and welcoming, and they still like made the experience as a whole enjoyable for me.
Oh, that's what's up. Shout out LSU.
Shout out to them, they're really great.
Okay.
But after that, like once I experienced that, I was like, I don't want to be in a wheelchair. Like, I still want to enjoy, like, on campus. Like, I want to walk around. I want to find all my classes on my own. So, like, I started really taking therapy seriously and, like, trying to walk on my own and do all these things. And thankfully, like, I was able to walk and, like, enroll for the fall semester of my freshman year.
Okay.
Now, I can't lie to you, it was very difficult. I always had like the pain medications they gave me, like to walk around campus.
Right.
So like at night when it wore off, it was serious.
I understand.
I'm like, oh no, I'll be fine. Like I'm getting some good shoes. Like everything's gonna be perfect. Absolutely not.
Man, oh man, that is crazy. So we talked about that knee. What about your shoulder? Did you have to do any rehab for that?
I did, but it didn't take nearly as long as it did for my knee.
Okay.
Because like I feel like I got that done right after it happened.
Gotcha.
So like it didn't really have time to like get worse.
Okay, so basically with the shoulder, you went to the ER and he popped it back in place and then sent you to go get some therapy done for about a month probably?
I actually had surgery on my shoulder because once that happened, he said everything tore.
Oh, wow.
So he was like, you got to get that put back in before like that potentially gets worse. So I had surgery over the summer, and then it was the start of junior year, and it only took me like maybe 2 months to recover out of that.
Okay.
Started cheering and tumbling again, probably mid-season, so it really didn't take me too long for that one. It was scary getting into it for sure, but
oh man, that's what's up though.
it's definitely a lot more successful than the knee injury.
Yeah, definitely. You got this little freaking warrior over here. You got NFL horror stories, all the injuries and surgeries you've been through.
Know it.
All right, so you said you majored in you are majoring in kinesiology with the you said focus on pre-med.
That is correct.
All right, so what are your plans with that?
So at the moment, I have roughly 2 semesters left.
Okay.
But there's still some other classes that I wanted to take that I really wasn't able to with being on the team and traveling back and forth.
Right.
So I might extend my time just a little longer. So, I mean, I'm really not in a rush at the moment.
Right.
To get through school, because I feel like if you're not truly understanding what you're learning, you're just trying to rush through.
Right.
Just to grasp the wave. It's really not worth it at the end of the day. So I kind of want to get the most out of it, out of my time here. So it'll actually go through once I graduate. So I'll actually remember all this information.
Right.
And I'll be better off if I do take my MCAT.
Okay.
Which I plan on doing after I graduate. I'm going to take a gap year to work on my MCAT and get my resumes together, and then I'll be applying after that.
Okay, that's basically the same thing my wife did. I think she took maybe 2 gap years. I don't know, because I think she graduated 2012, and then she got in med school. Yeah, she took a little more than 2 years, but I won't go about her business. I don't want her to cuss me out later.
No, that's awesome.
Let's talk about your major, the kinesiology major. I was a kinesiology major at USM. What attracted you to this major?
So honestly, I started off as a bio major, but before I went in for orientation, I went into the office, and there's this girl sitting at the front desk. She was working there that day, and she asked me what year I was and what I wanted to do, and I told her I was a freshman biology major, and I eventually wanted to go to med school. And she was like, well, that's awesome, but have you ever thought about maybe doing community?
Right.
And I was like, well, no, I really haven't. She was like, well, you told me that you're interested in sports medicine, and honestly, she was like, medical schools get biology majors all the time. And what they don't see is community majors.
Right.
She was like, you get the same thing, she said, if not more, hands-on experiences. And she was like, and I do feel like it's something that you would enjoy doing more than the bio major. She was like, I'm not telling you to do it. She was like, but I just say, check it out before you actually start in the fall.
Right.
So that's good. So then I went and I looked at the courses and everything they have to offer. And I was like, well, I mean, it does look interesting. And she's right. They always do bio majors. Why don't you want to be different? But stick out when it comes to applying and being in front of the panel.
Right. Okay. And that's very true. My wife, one of her classmates, and she was actually one of our bridesmaids too. She majored in English before she got into med school, which was, a little mind blowing to me. When I was in college, all the way up until probably my junior year, I didn't know you could apply for those schools, professional schools, PT, medical school, dental, all that, without majoring in a field similar to that. Kinesiology is still pretty close to medical, but I remember one girl was like, I want to major in I think she was majoring in media productions or something like that, and then she was still gonna go major in physical therapy, which was a little shocking to me, but it still was along the same lines of what you were saying.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize at the end of the day. It really doesn't matter what you do in undergrad.
Right.
We can major in whatever, as long as you take the classes that you need in order to take your professional test, like the MCAT or the DCAT or whatever you're trying to take.
Right.
fine. That doesn't matter at the end of the day.
That is very true. Very true. So, majoring in kinese right now, what's been your favorite class so far?
My favorite classes. Let's see. And it's kind of weird because everybody says they hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite classes had to be biology my freshman year and my core kinese classes now. Because like once you get more like deeper into your major, you start having those core classes that you actually like learn about human movement, physical activity, and like how it applies to real life.
Right.
And I always thought that was interesting, like how they connect the classroom into real world situations.
I
Because
definitely.
I feel like that's how I learned that at the end of the day.
I completely
So
understand.
that's what
that.
always keeps me intrigued.
Okay. So you want to be a physician? What type of physician do you want to be?
My number one goal was always to do sports medicine.
Okay.
But over the years, like I started like broadening my options, and my second would be dermatology.
Okay.
And the reasons behind that is I've always cared like a lot about skincare, especially when it comes to African Americans.
Right.
Just because it is harder for us to find doctors that are willing to take time to help treat certain skin, like such as pigmentation. That's a big thing for me. Like I haven't found somebody that will actually like take the time to help me find something that works best for my skin, and not just like general stuff that they say works for everybody, because it's different at the end of the day. It really is.
Right.
Like, you can't compare white skin to black skin, and I mean that's just true at the end of the day.
Yeah, I understand.
So
I understand.
I feel like if anything, like I would want to be an advocate for that and help find ways for people like me to treat certain things so they won't feel as bad about their skin at the end of the day, because there's always something that can be done.
Right. Okay. So segueing into a different topic, with the COVID-19, everything's on pause, as you already know. Do you miss the NBA season?
I do miss it. It's so funny because we always talk about in like our group chat with the team about like the season's going so fast, like we never have any breaks, but now that this happens, we all have no clue like what to do with ourselves. Like I've never had so much free time, and it's just like I have no clue what to do.
Right.
It's like I sit at home all day, I do the same thing. It's like you kind of take for granted what you have, like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that happens with a lot of people. Like you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
Right.
And it's true. And like I feel like COVID-19's been the biggest eye opener for a lot of people. Like everybody's always complaining about their jobs, about school. Like, oh, I don't want to wake up for class. I don't want to walk across campus. But now that like you genuinely don't have a choice not to do any of these things,
right?
It makes you realize, like, I probably should have walked in for class. Like, I probably should have walked across campus that day.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm just stuck at home doing nothing. So it kind of like really makes you appreciate like what you have and like what you could and still can do with certain situations.
Oh, that's very true. That is very true. So, what are you doing to stay active? I know your mom is a big gym goer. I follow her on Facebook, so I know but the gyms are closed now. So, what are y'all doing to stay active?
Yeah, she actually turned our garage into a little workout area.
Okay.
Because once the gym, because like she was still going like right before I got home, but like once I got home, they shut the gym down completely. And she was like, well, that can't happen. Like, we still have to do something.
Right.
So they were just taking, like, the online classes that were offered. But then, like, she was like, no, that's still not enough. Mm-hmm. So she went and bought, like, these little kickboxing bags. She got a whole bunch of weights. She was trying to set it up all nice out there.
Okay. Oh, man. If I get down to the coast, I'm going to have to come check out Jim Daniels.
Oh, I know. Club Daniels is supposed to be popping soon.
I see. So, what are some of your favorite exercises?
My favorite exercises. So right before they canceled classes, I was taking a weightlifting class.
Okay.
And they taught us how to put together our own schedules, which, I mean, I kind of already had, like, different workout routines from the team trainers that they usually gave us, and I would use those sometimes, because, like, I always wanted to try something different. So I started making my own plans, and, like, I just, instead of using things like weights or stuff that, like, I didn't have, I can use, like, household objects. Like, my mom has a whole bunch of boxes that she has, like, her medical papers and, like, prescriptions and stuff in. So I use those, and, like, I use them to, like, lift and things like that.
Gotcha.
So I'm really making use of all of my resources these days. I try to make it a point to do something active every day, because I know you can get stuck in just sitting in the house, and then before you know it, it's nighttime, and then you got to go to bed again. Just to wake up and do another day of nothing.
Yeah, there's only so much Netflix.
I did that a few days, and I was like, no, I can't do this every day of my life for the rest of the school semester. So I really try to make it a point to do something active every single day. If that's running in the neighborhood, or going out in the garage and doing one of my workouts, or just walking my dog. Like, I feel like it's really important to, like, step outside of the house. So
that is definitely true.
You won't go crazy at the end of the day.
That is definitely true. You dance for the Pelicans, but the Pelicans have a sister organization. I believe they're owned by the same ownership group, the Saints football. What's the difference? So what's the difference between a Saints station and a Pelicans or a Pels dancer? And is there any correlation? Do y'all intermingle or anything like that?
Yeah, no. I'm actually really good friends with a lot of the Saint stations. Believe it or not, a lot of them come from Baton Rouge. Like, one girl actually goes to LSU with me. She's on Saint stations, and I'm on Pell.
Okay.
And we do have practices, like, on the same days, but we can never ride with each other because they're at different facilities.
Gotcha.
So, like, we got to talk about it and laugh and joke and be like, wow, like, if we were on the same team, we'd be able to ride together and carpool and save gas. And I was like, oh, girl, if only.
Right.
But I think the biggest difference, we both have the same practice schedule, but at the end of the day, they do have less games, and we have 12.
Right.
And have 43.
True.
So Pelicans is definitely a lot more time-consuming than Sensation. I feel like when it comes to dancing, we do learn, like, a lot of the same styles or whatnot, but I just feel like we have a lot more of a workload put on us in a short period of time, because we might have a game on Monday and then practice on Tuesday and then another game on Wednesday. So you kind of have to stay on your toes and keep up with all of your choreography and try to practice as much as you can outside before game days.
Okay, that's what I wanted to bring up. So you're in school in Baton Rouge, right? But you dance in New Orleans. How is that? How is keeping up with your schedule going? Or, I mean, obviously it's going pretty well. You're in your junior year and doing well, but can you talk about that?
Oh, it is a wild ride. I honestly, these 2 years, I definitely wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, it's been the best experience to me. Like, it's not heard of for someone to go to a major school along with dancing for a professional team. Like, it's really not heard of.
Right.
But, like, just the fact that I am doing it, I feel like I could send out a message, like, anything is possible. But if I could take a step back and, like, redo it all again, like, if somebody were asking me, I probably would tell them, like, well, it really just depends on your schedule and, like, what you're willing to give up at the end of the day.
Right.
Because it is a lot of time, there's a lot of work put into it. There's some days or weeks where I'm driving to New Orleans every single day.
Right.
It's just like you have to be really diligent when it comes to time management, scheduling your classes, taking your tests, doing your homework, practicing your dances. Like, you really just have to be on top of the game at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, if you want to live just that college life, I feel like it's something that you would want to do maybe after you graduate.
Gotcha. Now,
or like, if you want to do both, maybe take a lighter load.
Okay. So, were you on the squad when Coach Sorrells was on your coach?
No, I wasn't. She actually had just quit the team before she came and coached at Biloxi High. That's what she told me.
Gotcha. Okay. But she was your cheer coach, though, right?
She was my cheer coach, and I think it's so funny because one of my teammates that I have now, she was a sensation, and she posted a picture one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my cheer coach.
Oh,
and
man.
she was like, oh my gosh, like, Coach Matt? Miss Cassidy? I was like, yeah, like, that's my coach.
Oh,
and
man.
she was like, she danced with her for like 4 years, and I was like, I think it's so crazy that we share the same teammates, like my cheer coach and me, like,
right.
we're around the same people every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought that would be a thing, because like, she would always talk about it during cheer practice. Like, she always like compare things to state stations and how everything was random. And then like, I never really thought about it, and I was like, oh no, like, it's nothing like it. But the way that she coached us is pretty similar to like how practices are run on Pelicans at the station.
Okay.
But people were always like, oh, we're never going to like use these techniques like when we go to college. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm doing what she used to do, so it really did help me a lot. Thank you.
True that. Oh, man. So, you said you started around the age of 12.
Mm-hmm.
Can you call out or maybe think of any of your favorite dancers that you used to watch growing up?
Oh gosh, who did I watch a lot? I'd say at the age of 12, that's when I started first going to like a lot of conventions.
Uh-huh.
Like around that day, for example, one of the conventions was called the Pulse, and like that was the very first convention that I'd ever gone to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I had no clue what I was doing at the time. Like, I didn't know that at the time, like, you're really competing to like get scholarships. Like, I didn't know what any of that was. I was just going in there and dancing and like just having fun.
Right.
But there's certain people like Dave Scott and Lorianne Gibson. And then there's also this one girl that I used to watch on YouTube all the time. Her name's Isabel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like all these people that I used to like just see all the time in different music videos, like choreographing for like different big groups and big names. It's just like, I never really knew like how they did it or like what did they do to get to this spot. And then like I started going to all these conventions and like seeing the choreography and like all the tools they're giving out to students to learn, and I was like, wow, like this is what professionals do every day, and like I'm doing this in a weekend.
Right.
So like this is really how people live their lives, and like I saw the amount of work and dedication like that it took in order to be at the level that they are, and I never knew like what level I would want to dance on or where I would be. I just knew like I wanted to experience that limelight in some type of way.
Okay. Well, you're definitely doing a great job, Kennedy. You're a successful student and you're on a NBA dance team. So shout out to you.
Thank you so much. It's been a ride, but it's been an enjoyable one for sure.
Definitely. Before we wrap it up, Kennedy, I want to say I appreciate you again for being here with me. Give a shout out to give us your Instagram handle.
Absolutely. My Instagram is KNicole. It's KNICOLEE. There's 2 E's at the end. And Kennedy Daniels is my name. It should pop up.
All right. Thank you, Kennedy, so much for being with us. I'm your host, K-Pad, and this has been For the Health of It.
Thanks so much for having me.